Welcome back, everybody. We're turning to Greece and the new 6-day work week that was introduced there earlier in the month. The Greek government is allowing some businesses to call in employees to work an exceptional 6th day in the week, and it applies to businesses that operate 24/7, but it is voluntary. This is controversial. It's out there, and a lot of people looking at it. Let's talk more about what this means. And we're joined by Dimitrios Soultogiannis. Did I get close?
You got it. As Greek as it gets, right?
Okay, it is as Greek as it gets. Let's talk about this new law. I'm sorry, you're also the correspondent for Greece's Star Channel. I apologize for that. Let's talk about this new law, what it does mean. So many other nations right now are looking for the 4-day work week, saying it's a lot more productive. So why is this going down? Break it down for us. What does it mean for the average worker, and why now?
Good evening, Sean, and thank you for having me on the show. Let's see what this law is suggesting. So this law is actually, like you mentioned before, absolutely voluntary. It basically says that whoever, a business owner, let's say, or services that are 24/7 or around the clock, they can offer the option to an employee to work an extra day, and that extra day will be compensated with 40% more of their daily wage. It doesn't have to be mandatory. It can be voluntary. The whole rationale behind this is that it's going to drive up the economy. It's going to bring up Greece's GDP, and at the same time, it will make the industry more productive.
Give us a thumbnail sketch for where Greece is right now, because so many countries right now are struggling with the effort to find skilled workers. Is that part of the problem beyond this?
This is part of the problem, especially in the post-pandemic era. Greece had a major problem finding workers. So right now, what I mentioned before, the increase in pay is a very good motive, according to the Kyriakos Mitsotakis, the prime minister, according to the government, that will attract workers and people who would want to work a little more.
So how are Greek workers reacting to this? I guess no huge surprise that labor unions right now are saying, look, we don't like this. They're known to fight for the rights of the working class. But what about the Greek workers? Do they like this extra 40%? Do they feel it's being forced on them?
No. So I would say it's a split audience. Obviously, labor unions don't like this. But let me just give you a very fair, simple example. So let's say journalists and correspondents like me in Greece, you have the option in the private sector. You have the option to work weekends. Sometimes it's mandatory to work weekends. Well, you get compensated for that. Some people are actually looking for that extra pay. Some people are actually looking for that extra Saturday or Sunday because they do know they will get paid. Well, as you know, like Greece is doing, better in the last years. The economy is doing much better, but still, we're not nearly as close to the average monthly salaries like some other countries in the European Union. So yes, I would say some people are actually looking forward to that. Not the labor unions.
Yeah, that was one of my questions about the pay scale for people within Greece compared to, say, the EU, and kind of compare and contrast what's going on in Greece right now to other nations in the region that are really looking to the 4-day work week rather than expanding to the 6.
You're absolutely right. So like I said before, I mean, we have a long way to go in order to get even close to some other European countries like Italy, like Germany, like France. At the same time, though, I must say that, the cost of living is unbearable in Greece, and that's the major complaint of a lot of workers here in Athens and around the country, that, the cost of the supermarket, the everyday life is getting more expensive. The pay is lower, but we are paying European prices with salaries that are not even close to theirs. So they're looking at other countries that are actually trying to implement the 4-day work with better salaries, thinking, what are we doing wrong here?
Yeah. How difficult has it been getting that message that you just talked about, which I think you explained very clearly and concisely, to the average worker in Greece? Because I think one could argue this is thinking outside the box. This is a way to try and move forward.
Absolutely. It's not very easy. It's not very easy for the government because Greece is doing better in the markets, but Greece is not really doing better in the everyday life, so to speak. So it's very hard to explain this to somebody making, let's say, 6, 7, 800 euros a month when their rent is 300, or a trip to the supermarket is 200-300 euros. So, the Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, I feel like will have a very hard time trying to pass this, or at the end of the day, trying to explain this to somebody who's against it. But then again, to people who are actually looking forward to more work and more money and better pay, it shouldn't be a problem there.
Kind of look in your crystal ball, if you will, for just a bit, and tell me what we're going to be talking about in 3 months. Is this going to be a program that was a noble effort, but it failed, or is this going to be something that you think can take root and certainly help a certain degree of the labor force?
So I will have to, for Greece, I will have to separate the public sector and the private sector. Speaking to a lot of people in the private sector, they see this in a very positive way, because just like I explained before, it's a way for them to, increase their income. So somebody who is a hard worker and is willing to work, let's say, a Saturday or an extra Sunday and make more money, perfect. Good luck to the Greek government explaining this to the public sector, which, as you know, the public sector in Greece is, the bureaucracy, is out of control. And at the end of the day, they're underpaid. And so the way they will look into this is that we're working more, but getting paid the same or less.
Well, Greece is not alone in terms of that, in terms of the public sector. That is something that really extends to so many countries. Dimitrios Soultogiannis, I want to thank you so much for your time and your insight. Thank you again.
My pleasure, Sean.